Good evening and thank you for joining us. These are the top stories.
Tonight, the president hits back at his critics, further exposing the divisions in Jubilee.
Hii vita hatutaishinda kwa mazishi.
Si ati hatujui vitu yenye mumeiba nyinyi watu.
Wewe tembea hapa Karura Forest hapa. Ofisi ziko hapo. Kwenda useme Uhuru kile ameiba.
Also tonight, DCI grilled Treasury CS Henry Rotich all day as his water counterpart answers questions by MPs.
Plus, after the car sober checks, came 4 deaths in 1 week.
Kwa vile wameandikwa na wenye wanakunywa na mwenye duka kwanza analeta inawekwa hapo, angeweza kuacha.
In defense of self-proclaimed prophet David Owor in the property debacle.
This person that was running the account before she appointed Bishop Macharia, who is that? How much did he squander?
NTV Tonight with Dennis Okari and Olive Burrows.
Welcome to the broadcast. Our sign language interpreter tonight is David Agondoa. And as has become customary, we start with matters corruption. President Uhuru Kenyatta has cautioned leaders against personalizing the war on graft against corruption, asking them to stop prosecuting corruption cases at funerals and weddings.
At the same time, President Kenyatta has called on anyone with evidence that he or his family has been found in corrupt dealings to report the cases to the DCI.
Hii vita hatutaishinda kwa mazishi, kwa harusi, sijui wapi. Hii vita tuko na wale ambao wamepatiwa kazi na jukumu ya kufanya hiyo kazi. Na mimi naamini na nafikiria Wakenya wengi wanaamini ya kwamba wale ambao wamepatiwa hiyo kazi wako na uwezo wa kufanya na kutekeleza hiyo kazi. Tunaelewana na wenzangu? Okay? So hii mambo ya kila mtu kila siku unaongea. Niliona mwingine akisema sijui nimeiba mali ya nani. Mimi namwambia wewe tembea hapa Karura Forest hapa. Ofisi ziko hapo. Kwenda useme Uhuru kile ameiba. Shida iko wapi jameni? What is the problem? Lakini hii mambo ya kutishatisha watu ati kwa sababu umetaja kitu kwa mazishi, huyo mtu ambaye amekufa hata kusaidia. Yeah? Ule mtu ambaye ako na uwezo wa kukusaidia ni DCI.
Treasury Cabinet Secretary Henry Rotich will spend a second consecutive day at the Directorate of Criminal Investigations headquarters along Kiambu Road, where he was today grilled for more than 12 hours.
Detectives are investigating Rotich's role in the alleged irregular payment of up to 21 billion shillings for the construction of Aurora and Kimwarer dams in Elgeyo Marakwet County.
NTV Seth Olale spent the entire day at the DCI headquarters and gives us the perspective.
Well, thank you so much, Dennis. Actually, the CS for Treasury, Henry Rotich, arrived at the DCI headquarters 15 minutes to 6 a.m. and it took about 30 minutes for the grilling to start. It took more than 12 and a half hours at the DCI headquarters located along Kiambu Road. And the reason for that, this lawyer, Katwa Kigen, who represents CS for Treasury, Henry Rotich, this is what he had to say in regards to why the process took so long.
I just wanted to confirm that in response to someone's issue to us, or rather issue to the CS, we've been here today. The investigators wanted us to clarify a couple of things, which we've clarified. It took us a while because it required reference to a number of documents, some of which we needed to cross-reference, and that took a bit of time. Otherwise, we have availed the information they needed, and we commit ourselves to be available to assist in the investigations. Thank you very much. We are yet to know whether there are 300, but of course we are surprised that the media is more aware of the questions that we are to answer than ourselves who are to answer them. Yeah, well, there are a few documents we didn't have immediate access to or were not immediately available, and so we will avail them tomorrow morning, and that should be, we expect to be done sometime in the morning tomorrow. We are yet to confirm.
Katwa Gigan representing Treasury Cabinet Secretary Henry Rotich, and the two, that is Katwa Gigan alongside CS Treasury Henry Rotich, are expected at the DCI headquarters tomorrow, that is Wednesday, to clarify further in regards to the dam scandal. And we're talking about the Aror and Kimwarer dam that is allegedly that there was irregular payment of up to 21 billion shillings, and this, of course, is what the DCI is investigating. Sources close to the DCI estimates that the Office of the Director of Public Prosecution is waiting for that file to be completed and the investigating files to be forwarded over to the Director of Public Prosecution, Nurdin Haji, for him to recommend, or rather to take the next course of action. But look, stay glued on or watch NTV tomorrow, because we'll be giving you all the updates in regards to CS Henry Rotich appearance, or rather grilling at the DCI headquarters.
Thank you for that update. Seth has stayed with that story for all of the 13 hours. Now, controversy over the Kiambu County's Car Sober program is brewing over the cost of the program and the rationale behind it. The recent death of one of the beneficiaries has raised questions about the criteria used in transitioning the initial beneficiaries to the vocational training centers. The family of the late Gabriel Njuguna says the program was discriminatory and that most of those who went through it to the very end may not have had dependency issues. We'll bring you more on that story a little later. Now, another cabinet secretary was being questioned today. Could you take that, Dennis? The National Assembly Committee, like you're saying, on Environment has Natural Resources has suspended 22 dam projects worth 188 billion shillings in the country that are in the process of procurement until ongoing investigations over the current dam scandals are actually complete. And at the same time, members of parliament from Elgeyo Marakwet County have supported ongoing investigations into the 21 billion shillings Aror and Kimwarer dam scandal, saying that despite the ongoing investigations, the dam project should be completed.
Wildlife are living there.
Water Cabinet Secretary Simon Chelugui appeared before the National Assembly's Committee on Environment and Natural Resources to give a report on the status of dams in the country. Chelugui informed the committee that Aror and Kimwarer dams, which are under a cloud of corruption allegations, are not under his docket, saying the dams are under the Ministry of the East African Community.
That Kimwarer and Aror Dam are not within the Ministry of Water and Sanitation. They are being implemented by other agencies, the Ministry of East Africa and Regional Development. Specifically, the KVDA is the procuring entity. For Itare is a project that I've explained to the members and is under our ministry and is currently facing contractual issues, and we will be able to ensure that every condition and clause in the conditions of contract is secured. We will invoke our rights.
According to Chelugui, the country has 57 dam projects. Only 22 are under his ministry. Members of the committee have demanded all those involved in the 21 billion shillings Aror and Kimwarer dams scandal in Elgeyo Marakwet to be prosecuted.
Government is so much keen to go and give advances, well, at the same government where we are sitting is not even ready to provide funding for compensation.
The committee has suspended 22 dam projects in the country worth 188 billion shillings until investigations into the current dam scandals are completed. Meanwhile, a group of members of parliament from Elgeyo Marakwet County have supported the ongoing investigations. However, they insist that the probe should not stop the construction and completion of the Aror and Kimwarer dams. They are asking Treasury to release 6 billion shillings meant for compensation of landowners where the dams are to be constructed.
Let it be a genuine investigations and not people trying to take away this project. KFS to provide the necessary approvals and not to be discriminative, giving approvals in elsewhere, but not providing the approvals for Aror and Kimwarer Dam.
The projects must continue to its completion because it has several benefits to the community and the country at large, which includes, but not limited to, food security in the region and the entire country.
The Directorate of Criminal Investigations officers are investigating a 21 billion shillings payment for the 2 dam projects in Elgeyo Marakwet that are yet to begin since 2017. Vincent Odur, NTV, Nairobi.
On to that story we promised you. Controversy over the Kiambu County's car sober program is brewing over the cost of the program and the rationale behind it. The recent death of one of the beneficiaries has raised questions about the criteria used in transitioning the initial beneficiaries to the vocational training centers.
The family of the late Gabriel Njuguna says the program was discriminatory and that most of those who went through it to the very end may not have had dependency issues. Charity Mwangi has the details.
This family in Kiambu County gathers to confront its pain. The death of their kin came as a shock to them, but they are determined to take the loss in stride.
Alifariki tu hapo nje wa duka. Katapika. Kakufa.
Gabriel Njuguna was troubled right from childhood, but had a stab at an education with the introduction of the free primary school program, reviving the family's hope for his future.
Siku hiyo tulikuwa tunalipa shule. Tukilipa, anachukua risiti anaweka kwa mfuko, anaenda.
Lakini Njuguna alituonyesha ata-improve kwa sababu alirudi shule akiwa mkubwa.
But that hope dimmed when he moved to the nearby town of Gatokoyo, where he started his 4-year battle with the bottle.
Nilikuwa namuongelesha kila mara. Lakini kwa vile ameandikwa na wenye wanakunywa, na mwenye duka kwanza analeta inawekwa hapo, angeweza kuacha. Sasa nani atakaa na mlevi? Ana watoto yani amezaa nje lakini hakuwa na mtu ya karibu.
The car sober program appeared to be the answer to a mother's prayer, but it was short-lived as he was discontinued after just a week.
Kilipo pesa wakienda wakikunywa wakakuja wakachujwa kutolewa.
The program at start involved a lot of casual labor, but the monetary reward fueled the same demons they were battling.
Walikuwa wakifanya kazi hii ya kufieka na wanalipwa 300.
The lucky ones found their way to various vocational training centers within Kiambu County, where they were equipped with various technical and life skills to help them rebuild.
We received 331 students for all the courses.
One such candidate, however, tells us that the program, despite its best intentions, was hurriedly planned as he still struggles with alcohol use bordering abuse.
Squeeze ninakunywa keg kobe 7, lakini hapo awali seme hiyo pombe ikuwa mzuri juu kuwa ni changa, lakini siku hizi at least tunatumia hii keg.
He reckons the 20,000 shillings they received upon graduation could have been put to better use instead of a cash payout. The success of the car sober program may not necessarily depend on the running of the program in the various polytechnics, but rather the ability of the individual graduate to stay faithful and to remain sober. How the 20,000 shillings that they received upon graduation will influence this end is a question for another day. Charity Mwangi, NTV.
Samburu Governor Moses Kasaine Lenol Kulal has been barred from transferring, disposing or in any other way dealing with 4 prime properties situated in Karen area for the next 6 months.
EACC alleges that 1.6 billion shillings has been embezzled between the 1st of January 2013 and the 31st of December 2018. Justice John Oniego ordered that investigations be completed before instituting recovery proceedings against the governor and Oryx service station.
The Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission claims that investigations have revealed that the governor, through the company in the period between 2013 to 2018, received a sum in excess of 80,763,715 made by the county.
According to the papers in court, EACC claims that preliminary investigations revealed that the governor on the 8th of July 2015 purchased property worth 15 million shillings each in Karen. Another trade dispute between Kenya and Tanzania is brewing.
Last Monday, the Tanzanian authorities directed that all manufactured goods from Kenya be re-examined despite KEBS certification.
Mark Masai just came from the Namanga border point to establish the fault of the latest widening rift.
Movement at the Namanga one-stop border point almost at a standstill. Little activity, none of the stakeholders or authorities concerned willing to talk. The latest official communication, however, speaks volumes. As of Monday last week, no manufactured goods from Kenya into Tanzania are allowed in, even though they have been certified safe by the Kenya Bureau of Standards. Last year, in a seemingly choreographed commissioning of the Namanga one-stop border point by President Uhuru Kenyatta and his Tanzanian counterpart Pombe Magufuli, the turnaround time for goods at the border point was meant to be hastened, removing the bureaucratic steps such as the latest demands by Tanzania for re-inspection of goods despite KEBS certification. It has emerged, however, that the latest move by Tanzania is in retaliation to the blocking of tiles that were coming into Kenya from Tanzania earlier this year. The Kenyan authorities allegedly denied entry to the tiles that had been approved by the Tanzanian Bureau of Standards. NTV tried to get official word on the ground from the Tanzanian Bureau of Standards, KEBS or KRA, but none were willing to be on record on the status quo despite the clear standoff, only hinting at ongoing interventions at higher levels of government. Kenyan stakeholders are meant to meet tomorrow to chart the way forward. The one-stop border post that was launched recently was meant to bring to an end the trade spats between the two countries once and for all. But it seems that time and again there will be a resurgence of incidents of the countries showing who's boss, and at quite a costly affair. Mark Masai, NTV, at the Namanga border point.
Before we take a break, there's an interesting story here where a man has gone into remission after a bone marrow transplant in London, becoming the second patient ever considered clinically cured of HIV, according to scientists. In 2007, another man, referred to as the Berlin patient, received a bone marrow transplant from a donor with natural immunity to the virus and was considered healed.
While doctors are cautious about declaring this breakthrough a cure, they are certain that the virus that causes AIDS cannot be detected in the body of the London patient anymore, giving hope to the 37 million people around the world who live with the virus. For more on this and what this means to the 1.5 million Kenyans living with HIV, do not miss your copy of the Daily Nation tomorrow. Time now for a break.
Well, we're taking that break. We'll be back with more stories.
The devolution of the healthcare sector by the Constitution in 2010 was meant to bring the service closer to the people and improve its management.
But 6 years later, the sector has been marred by numerous challenges, forcing some critics to crusade for its return to the national government.
NTV's Silas Apollo takes a look at the health sector, its gains and misses, and why 6 years later, the dream of access to healthcare by all still remains a mirage for many.
When the Constitution was promulgated in 2010, one of the gains it was celebrated for was the devolution of the health sector, partly because while it would ensure the services are brought closer to the people, it was also expected to be run well. 6 years later, the sector is in quite a jam, from strike by medics, boycotts, poor and late funding, lack of infrastructure and sometimes lack of drugs. The bone of contention has been a cry by medics that both the national government and the county government have failed to implement a collective bargain agreement signed to increase their salaries.
Round hii there is no turning back. Kwa sababu sisi kama wauguzi tumekwisha kanyakiwa miaka mingi sana. We cannot have 4 agreements being thrashed by the government.
The medics accuse the 2 levels of government of playing politics with the sector. But President Kenyatta and governors have carried the day in the face-off.
Accordingly, any nurse who fails to report to work as directed above will be dismissed by the county governments and the Ministry of Health.
Consequently, a tug of war between the national and county governments on control of the sector have forced some to champion a return of the sector back to the national government. The Constitution assigns the running and management of the national referral hospitals to the national government, with the rest of the hospitals under county government. Governors, however, contend that the sector has made great strides, save for few challenges.
Our mothers used to die on the streets, giving birth, blood on the road. Nowadays, no woman dies on the road. We take them to hospital. We have revamped our health center, our healthcare system.
Some residents of the counties who spoke to NTV also contend that the sector has performed well.
Now we can access health at least for free.
Dusi mimi ameenda hospitali, amepata tu free.
Ukapewa madawa free.
Dawa tu hata kama nanunua nje na hapo kwa hospitali napewa kidogo.
Opinion remained divided on the successes and failures of the health sector since it was devolved by the Constitution in 2010. While some have lauded the successes of governors, others are of the opinion that a failure by the national government and the county government to rein in on the excesses may be the greatest undoing of the sector. Silas Apollo, NTV.
Their famed bromance propelled them to the house on the hill, and they enjoyed an enviable bromance in the first year of their second term of the presidency. President Uhuru Kenyatta and his deputies' ties have, however, been rattled, at least in the court of public opinion, by the entrance onto the stage of former Prime Minister Raila Odinga with the coming of the handshake.
But is the new bromance between President Uhuru Kenyatta and opposition leader Raila Odinga a threat to the friendship between the president and his deputy? NTV's Brenda Wanga reports.
The cessation of political hostilities between the president and the opposition leader was the beginning of a budding friendship that continues to grow with the passing of time. 1 year since that historic handshake on the steps of Harambee House, and the two have been increasingly strengthening their ties. From the frosty and stinging criticism of each other to warm embraces and glowing tributes between the two.
Tuliketi chini ya ndugu yangu na tukasema Kenya imetoka kwa gurudumu.
Na hiyo ndio lengo langu na ndugu yangu mkubwa hapa Raila Amolo Odinga.
Indeed, the diaries of the two have appeared to be in sync since the handshake. The two have been sharing not only events and reading from the same script on various political and social issues, they have also been breaking bread together at very personal levels. Case in point, Raila's hosting of the president for breakfast at his Bondo home in Nyanza, the hotbed of opposition politics.
Amua na tukasema ya kwamba wakati umefika tuachane na mambo haya na tupambane naye.
Watu wanapora mali. Na ukiwauliza anasema kuna wapi ushahidi? Yule mtu ambaye ameiba mali yako anakusaidia kutafuta pale mali imeenda.
But the growing warm relationship between the two seemed to be thriving at the expense of another one that appears to be cooling down. In the wake of the election of the dynamic duo, as the president and his deputy had been christened in 2013, the two appeared to be joined at the hip. From color-coordinated outfits to literally having each other's backs in public, the two painted the image of a unified, youthful team, and the tone of the engagement more than cordial. These joint appearances now becoming less frequent. For instance, when the president and the former Prime Minister Raila Odinga were in Mombasa to launch the first lift of the Mama Ngina project, the DP was conspicuously absent. The tone of the engagement has also changed considerably.
Hii kijana anaitwa Ruto, unajua kila weekend anatanga kila pahali.
Mimi ni mtu ya mkono ya Uhuru Kenyatta.
There have also been instances where all three have shared a podium. The interactions on such occasions warm.
Naona baba akisema ya kwamba handshake sio ya kurudi nyuma, ni kusonga mbele.
Who have joined our brothers in the opposition by shaking hands with the Honorable Raila Odinga, so that together as a country we can now focus on the progress, the development of our country.
In just a year, another brother has joined the duo, and now, where there were two, there are three. And with 3 years to go to the next general election, all eyes will be on the trio ahead of a succession battle that promises to be anything but smooth and quiet. Brenda Wanga, NTV.
And from that story by Brenda, we take another short break, but business is up next.
Welcome to NTV Business. I am Julian Amboko. Traders in Western Kenya who have in the recent past complained that an influx of imported products from Uganda is ruining their businesses have been told to style up to meet competition. Trade Principal Secretary Chris Kipto did not mince his words while addressing participants this morning at the Kenya National Chamber of Commerce and Industries Membership Services Strategic Launch. Alex Mwangi with the details.
Traders in Western Kenya have seen an influx of products from Uganda that have destabilized their market. They are pleased to have the matter of the increasing imports addressed have reached high levels in government.
I have even people who have come to tell me there are too many eggs coming from Uganda, a lot of milk coming from Uganda. Please stop. How can I stop Ugandan products which are genuine coming into our market when Uganda is our #1 export destination? When you want to be the only one who is exporting to them and not them exporting to us?
By virtue of being a major export destination, Uganda's contribution to the growth of Kenya's economy is significant.
But to tell us just protect because there is competition, no. You have to style up and make sure you address the competitive challenges that you may have so that you live in this environment, because we are in a customs union where there is free trade.
Kipto was addressing businessmen at the Membership Services strategic launch of the Kenya National Chamber of Commerce and Industry. The chamber has 16,800 members and over 300,000 through associations, and is seeking to remove some of the barriers to trade that its members face.
Yesterday we sent a list of about 50 of our members who will be offered 5 to 10-year visas by the government of South Africa, deriving from a bilateral negotiation between our two governments.
At the forum, Dr. Kipto reiterated the government's commitment to launch the Kenya Trade Remedy Agency, KETRA. The existence of another agency besides the Anti-Counterfeit Agency, the Kenya Bureau of Standards and the Anti-Illicit Trade Agency will not necessarily mean the end of illicit goods in the market, but will call on a more concerted effort to end the vices of counterfeit and substandard goods, while at the same time being a costlier affair for the government. Alex Mwangi, NTV.
And away from the business of styling up, Kenya's business environment reported modest improvement in February 2019, according to the latest Purchasing Managers Index by Stanbic Bank. According to the index, the performance was informed by weak growth in overall demand and largely unchanged prices after months of steady increase. On the flip side, however, businesses continue to benefit from rising foreign demand, as well as subdued increase in input prices, which reflects low inflation pressures on the business environment. And on to the capital markets, Sanlam Kenya posted a 1.9 billion shillings loss for the year ended December 2018, a dip from the 53 million shillings net profit posted a year earlier. The company saw its life insurance business report a loss of 626 million shillings in the period under review, even as the general insurance arm posted 68% gain in net profit to 116 million shillings. Sanlam faced efficiency challenges in the period under review, with its total income declining by 11% compared to a 14% rise in expenses. The company, whose share price is up 1.4% since the start of 2019, will not be proposing issuance of a dividend to shareholders in the annual general meeting slated for May this year. And the National Hospital Insurance Fund will begin publishing its audited accounts following an agreement with the Central Organization of Trade Unions in Nakuru County. Employers who have since defaulted in remitting employee contributions to the national health insurance provider will soon be charged in court, as Bridget Ngana reports.
The Office of the Director of Public Prosecution will soon pursue truant employers who have withheld their employees' NHIF remittances.
There are some employers who deduct workers' money and they don't remit to the fund. We have agreed to work jointly and make sure they do that. And where they don't want to do it, we will refer them to the supervisor or to supervisory mechanism, including the Office of DPP for prosecutions.
The national health insurer, whose image is still tainted by corruption allegations, now says it is ready to publish its audited accounts in the hope of improving its credibility with the public.
we really encourage people to utilize the public facilities so that the payments can go towards enhancing, their capacity.
County governments on their part have been urged to improve on their health facilities to attract more claims from NHIF, which has been remitting most of its claims to private hospitals.
A lot need to be done to just bring the public facilities to the level of private, but in terms of settlement of claims, actually when anybody goes to a facility to get treatment, NHIF settled claims where a member was treated, and that we don't discriminate whatsoever.
The pact between KOTU and NHIF is an agreement that hopes to boost the uptake of national health insurance and access to health services. Bridget Ngana, NTV, Nakuru.
And on that note, we wrap up NTV Business Tonight. Do enjoy the rest of your viewing.
Thank you for staying with NTV Tonight. The Repentance and Holiness Ministry led by self-proclaimed prophet David Owor has now come out to refute claims made by a lawyer's family that the church brainwashed their kin and took away her property.
The church, in its defense, says Jane Njagi willingly gave one of the church members the rights to manage her property. NTV's Mel Miendo has more on the latest developments.
When the media first met Jane Muthoni Njagi, her family claimed she had been imprisoned in her own home, cut off from her own family for days on end. This was meant to be her day of freedom. Her family also accused the church, headed by Dr. Owor, of taking away her property.
We are finding it very strange. My sister wants to reclaim her property because it's her right. We are even wondering why the church is involved, because this is a private entity.
Claims that the church now denies. The church claims Muthoni gave them administrative rights over her property and finances.
This person that was running the account before she appointed Bishop Macharia, who is that? How much did he squander? And it was still one of the relatives. When you find out that, you'll be totally handsome.
According to the church, Muthoni had been diagnosed with dementia, but the family maintains the church had brainwashed her and had even dragged her, clouding her judgment.
If my sister appointed Lily Macharia, surely Lily Macharia does not have any experience of handling real estate.
Jane has been very, very vibrant. And I would even say she's a very sharp lawyer. So it is not like, she didn't know what she was doing.
The police and officers from the DCI are in possession of all the documents and title deeds as investigations into the allegations continue. Muthoni's properties have since been reverted back to her. Mel Miendo, NTV.
Over the last 6 years of devolution, Kenya has witnessed greater decentralization of development projects. Resource allocation to counties has opened up regions, many of which have been marginalized for years, improving on healthcare, infrastructure, agriculture, among other sectors.
However, the imbalance between recurrent and development expenditure remains a big challenge. Melita Oletenges reports.
As the Devolution Conference officially kicked off today, reflections on how county governments have come a long way in bringing development to the doorsteps of many citizens took center stage. Leaders highlighting strides made in health, agriculture and infrastructure, among other sectors.
We are here to celebrate devolution. 6 years down the line, there are success stories we've had here. We've heard of counties that had never seen tarmac roads like Mandera and Wajir, and they do have tarmac roads nowadays. We have heard of counties that didn't have medical equipment, like Turkana. People used to travel all the way to Eldoret, Moi Referral Hospital.
It is evident from this gathering that there are very many successes. Today, devolved governance is strengthened by mature institutions such as the Council of Governors, the Senate, and County Assemblies Forum, with the support of national government through the Ministry of Devolution, arid and semi-arid.
The need for the county governments to work with the national government was raised at the conference, which has been deemed by many leaders as the only way of creating cohesion between the two levels of governments.
Without development, and no development without peace, and there's no lasting peace or sustainable development without respect of human rights and the rule of law.
As Kenyans have been able to hold their leaders accountable for the development initiatives at the grassroots level, monies used on development is still minimal, raising concerns on the pace of development and speculations of corruption.
Inaenda kwa recurrent expenditure. Ile ambayo imebaki kuhudumia wananchi milioni hiyo nasema karibu 50 million ni 20%. Surely there is something wrong in that equation.
Although county governments have been lauded for their track record in the past 6 years of devolution, it has not been without its fair share of challenges. Allocation of minimal resources towards development is proving to be a challenging factor in achieving the full potential of devolution. Melita Oletenges, NTV, Kirinyaga County.
In some good news, a London patient with HIV becomes the second person ever to be free of the virus after a bone marrow stem cell transplant, raising hope for a cure for AIDS.
The new case report comes 10 years, yet another patient known as the Berlin patient went public saying he had been cured of the virus.
My case, my history is proof in concept that HIV can be cured.
After the transplant, the London patient remained on ARVs for 16 months, at which point treatment was stopped. Regular testing has confirmed that the patient's viral load remained undetectable since then.
The London patient is the second person ever worldwide to achieve remission from HIV on an extended basis, and it does mean that this is a proof of concept that a cure for AIDS can be found.
More than a decade ago, Timothy Brown, known as the Berlin patient, made history as the first person to be cured of HIV. Just like the London patient, he had a bone marrow stem cell transplant. They both received stem cells from a donor with a rare genetic mutation that prevents HIV from taking hold.
Bone marrow stem cell transplants are very complicated, they're very expensive, and they're very risky. In effect, they can kill you if they go wrong. So this isn't translatable to a wide population of people. What it does mean, though, is that scientists can explore this avenue, this genetic mutation, and focus on that as a potential cure in the future.
Doctors say they hope to expand research on the stem cell transplant technique to focus on communities in Africa where the HIV-BT mutation does not naturally occur.
Sight tonight comes from Kirinyaga County, where Ken Mijungu is standing by. Ken, what can we expect?
Yes, a very good evening, and thank you very much. Indeed, we're coming to you live from this county now. Anne Waiguru is our host tonight, and of course, we are talking devolution. My guest tonight, drawn from a governor, senators, policy expert, and of course, we are talking about the milestones of devolution so far. We're asking the question about the hits and misses, and more importantly, devolution was supposed to address several issues, and a key among them, devolving power and ensuring that resources go to the ground. But this has not effectively happened, and now when we come to such forums, they've turned more to be political than to be forums where we discuss and share ideas. It's more about celebrating the devolution and the devolved government. But the question that we're asking tonight, more importantly, do we have anything to celebrate when it comes to devolution? Have we made the milestone? Because again, we understand that we are even clawing back on the gains that have been made so far. So these are the fundamental questions that Professor Kibuta Kibwana, Moses Kajuang, who is Senator, and Kimani Wamatangi are coming here to answer, and of course to throw the spanner into the works. We're bringing a policy analyst to put all this into perspective, and that is coming to you straight after news, of course. And stay here with us. We are in County 022 and we have all that lined up for you, so stay with NTV from Kirinyaga County.
Really looking forward to that, Ken Mijungu. We're taking a break and sports is coming up next.
you. It is time to play on NTV Tonight. I am Warothe Kiru. Ambassador Amina Mohamed has officially taken over as a Heritage, Sports and Culture Cabinet Secretary. Ambassador Mohamed, who was moved from the education docket, took over the reins from departing, fired Rashid Echesa in a short ceremony held at the ministry's headquarters in Kencom House, Nairobi, early today morning. She becomes the third Sports CS in the Jubilee government following lackluster performances by her son Wario and Echesa, and she inherits a busy entry for Kenyan sports in 2019 and 2020. And Kirinyaga County is currently hosting the 6th annual Devolution Conference, and despite Kenya being a global sporting powerhouse, sport is not on the agenda. This is reflective of the state in most of the 47 counties where sports has not been embraced as an avenue to economic growth for the youth. The closest sports gets onto the programs for these devolution conferences is a curtain-raising token football matches. County Assembly Forum defeated members of the county assemblies 5-0, while governors lost to senators on penalties after the two teams had drawn 1-1. In addition, there was the traditional tug-of-war contest.